After a 2-week hiatus, Overwatch League regular season action has returned, and you know what that means? Friday Preds start back up too. I've greatly missed doing this. It felt like part of me just wasn't there, you know? I'm so used to it being part of my weekly routine. Finally, we get to start things back up though. I'm really excited to deliver this video to you guys, so let's dive straight into it with the usual hero pool preview. The hero pool we will be working with heading into the weekend consists of Brigitte, Sombra, Echo, and D.Va. With a 2-week ban system now in place, the meta should be relatively stable till the end of June. But what will the meta be exactly? Well, if I had to take a guess, Double Shield will likely be quite dominant. Orisa Sigma mostly, but maybe some Reinhardt too could get thrown into the mix, and since there's no Brig or Echo, there could be some Deathball stuff thrown into the mix I suppose, but I am expecting a majority of comps to be centered around slow-paced Double Shield stuff, with heroes like Ashe and Baptiste getting a big-time spotlight. But given my previous history with meta guesses, I would just take my predictions with a grain of salt. This is just my take on it. Not for what you guys have been waiting for, of course. Here's my predictions for the games. Take note that there's only 8 games this week and that only 2 take place in Asia, so be sure to plan accordingly so you don't miss out on any of the action. Anyway, to start the weekend, we get a May Melee quarterfinals rematch between the Shanghai Dragons and the London Spitfire. After the close game they played in the previous meeting, this game catches my interest. London are improving quickly, and I really do want to see if they can capitalize on what they've learned and maybe pull off the upset. Besides Brigitte and Echo, of course, London played Shanghai well using a lot of the same heroes that should be relevant given the current hero pool. And to add on to that, the Dragons can't really depend on Sombra dive. This honestly might spell trouble for the Shanghai Dragons. At the very least, I kind of do like London's chances of putting up a decent fight. The thing is though, Shanghai is going to be practicing the double shield stuff a lot more now, and the gameplay won't really be centered around Sombra or dive. And we've seen what they can do already when they're feeling it on the double shield. One other thing I'd like to say is that the Dragons can do what London does, in the sense that their coaching is just as good, so they can pick up on mistakes and improve as well. The Dragons have already shown me they're more than capable of doing this based off some of the rematches with certain teams this year. I say they won a hard-fought series with a 3-1 scoreline. It's reasonable to feel concerned though. Like seriously, this could end up being a trap game for a Shanghai team who may be feeling overconfident after winning the May Melee. But I believe in the Dragons, and I mean, it's not like London have defeated anybody noteworthy yet this year, so I kind of don't trust them. I would love for them to prove me wrong though. It would be great to see this London team take another stride towards greatness. Transitioning to the final game in Asia for the week, we've got a noteworthy Seoul Dynasty versus New York Excelsior matchup. Definitely gotta highlight this one as a key match. This game excites me very much. Seoul are attempting to capitalize on a good tournament run while the NY Excelsior are looking to bounce back, and having reinforcements come in is a great start. Nene is officially in South Korea and their new main support prodigy is now 18. Not to mention that Hoxel is now at their disposal. These guys are officially at full strength. Everyone on that team is now at their disposal, which should spell danger for the rest of the Asian region. I firmly believe that this extra firepower will serve as a huge pick-me-up for New York. If they figure it out, then they will be a pain to play against, and Seoul could be the first to find that out the hard way, but those guys are eager to prove that the tournament was no fluke at the same time. This might be a brawl. Now, given the history, I'd usually pick the NY Excelsior to win this matchup, but if Orisa Sigma are the tanks being primarily played, then that should theoretically favor the Dynasty. No hate on New York. I think in a majority of scenarios I favor them this matchup without a doubt, but Double Shield is the one place where Seoul truly thrives. And while they're nowhere near the worst, Double Shield is not exactly what you'd call New York's strong suit. In a lot of places they stack up pretty well with Seoul, but I do not have total confidence in Mono's Orisa, and Hoppa has been pretty hit or miss this year. This works out so much better for Gesture and Marvel. I'm a little worried that the New York tank line might not be able to keep up. That's why I've got the Seoul Dynasty winning it in 5 maps. There definitely is hope for the NY Excelsior though. If their other playmakers play well enough and Seoul shows more inconsistency issues, then there's always a chance they pull this off. Because they're New York, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if they play way better than I think they will. But on paper, this just feels Dynasty favored to me, so that's what I'm gonna go with. Now transitioning into the afternoon/evening games, we start off with the Boston Uprising versus Paris Eternal rematch. This will be a key match for 2 reasons. For one, This might actually make for a good match. But 2, Sparkle might finally get to show us what he's got now that he's 18 years old. This is the most hyped up rookie player in recent memory, so naturally everybody's eyeballs are going to gravitate towards this match. But it's not even just Sparkle or this match itself that make it interesting. My curiosity over Boston is the highest it's been in ages. I'm genuinely interested to watch them play. Since Punk joined this team, they've been improving drastically. Beating the Gladiators and nearly taking down Paris surely has them feeling the best they have all season. There's a lot of newfound life. But can it last? That's the big ultimate test for Boston. They have Paris and Philly back to back, so I'd love to see if they can keep their composure even if a few more losses start stacking up. Let's see if they can strengthen their mental or maybe even pull off an upset. If Boston wants to pull off the upset over Paris, I think 3 things need to happen. For 1, Fusions has to do a better job on that Orisa. That's easily his worst hero, and Nosmite has proven to be quite reliable on her. Fusions has to come up big, otherwise they'll be at a severe disadvantage. The second thing I'd like to see out of the Uprising is more strong play out of their amazing flex support, Myungbong. When this guy is feeling it like he did a few weeks ago, the team itself becomes a completely different beast to deal with. And third, Boston cannot let Sparkle get into a rhythm. I would really like to see them plan a strategy around attempting to frustrate him. With it being his anticipated league debut, him and the team are probably going to feel extra energized and motivated. If you can make Sparkle and the team tilt early on, that might help set the tone. Rain down on his parade. Hard counter him with all your might. There's no guarantee that this will work, but it's worth a shot if you ask me. Either that, or Color Hex somehow has to find a way to neutralize him. Those are some pretty demanding conditions to me, and I think that might be asking for too much. And that's why I don't think Boston can pull it off. I predict Paris to win the series 3-1. I have confidence in Myungbong to execute his part of the deal, and I'm sure Punk could probably put on a good show too, but the main issues I'm overly concerned about are Fusions and Sparkle. Fusions may have started to look better ever since Punk joined the roster, but that's mostly been on Reinhardt and Winston in my opinion. Fusions tends to be historically bad on the Orisa, and I don't know if Punk alone could help change that. As for Sparkle, my gut is telling me he's going to have a good debut. Boston can try their hardest, but I do not see a world in which they throw him off to the point where he becomes a non-factor. It seems too unlikely. And I mean, come on. You really think that Color Hex has what it takes to keep up with him? There's no way, especially if he's forced into playing May or something like that. The odds are heavily stacked against the Uprising. Paris are simply better, and they're stronger than before now. Next up on the schedule is the Dallas Fuel versus the Florida Mayhem, and this too will be a key match of the week for me. It's a pretty intriguing matchup, all things considered. There's been quite a few times where Dallas has had this competitive edge to them against good teams, and with Florida falling under that category, I would not be surprised in the slightest if that version of Dallas shows up this Saturday. They seemingly love to rise up to the occasion. I'm not sure what it is. Florida, on the other hand, is likely walking into this feeling very confident. Overcoming Philly and pushing the Shock in the grand finals of a tournament proves that this team is here to stay. They aren't pushovers. They genuinely are a top team in the league currently. But even though Dallas has so much to prove still, this might not be a walk in the park. I honestly like how Dallas matches up with them. While I definitely do prefer a Fate and Gargoyle tank line in this situation, Gamsu and No are all about dishing out the surprises this year, so I wouldn't be shocked if that trend continues against Florida. The DPS are pretty close too. Decay is probably the best one in the server, but BQB and Yaki as a duo have been just as strong as Decay and Doha. So as far as I'm concerned, this positional matchup kind of cancels out. It's a bit different at support though. This is where Dallas kind of falls short. If Paintbrush plays, then maybe he could make a difference, but generally speaking, I prefer Florida here. Chris might not be great, but he's been getting the job done, and Gangnam Jin is absolutely superior to Crimzo in my honest opinion. But I mean, if the Dallas supports prove me wrong, or they get covered up by the rest of the team pretty well, I could realistically see this being a really good game. But simply because Dallas hasn't really beaten anybody noteworthy this year, and the fact that Florida holds more advantages, I gotta give this one to the Mayhem personally. It might be a spicy take to some, but I can kind of see this going 5 maps. When you have Decay hard carry you, anything is possible. I'm kind of expecting that DPS battle in general to be super fierce, but the superior team play of the Mayhem will propel them over Dallas when it's all said and done. Closing out Saturday is a prime-time game between the Los Angeles Gladiators and the Atlanta Reign. Both of these guys pretty much did equally as well in the May Melee, so it feels right to say they are about even in terms of skill level. They are very similar to each other actually. They're like these two mid-table teams, if you will, that have the potential to be so much better than they are currently. But for some reason, they are nothing more than deer in the headlights whenever they play anybody near the top of the standings. These two are kind of evenly matched. From top to bottom, their lineups are very close. The support lines are about even, the Reign are a bit more stacked at DPS, and the Gladiators have the superior tanks. But some might say the Reign tanks would do better in this scenario due to their Orisa Sigma being so strong and all, but I wouldn't be so sure. OG has been having quite the underrated season, and Space is my personal #1 Western off-tank. This is anyone's game. Should be a good one. When it comes to selecting my winner though, I lean slightly, and I mean ever so slightly, more towards the Gladiators in a 3-2 victory. While these two are essentially the same team, the Reign are a bit more unproven to me. They haven't beaten anybody good this year, and why should I believe this time will be any different? They need to earn my trust before I'm willing to reconsider. My other reason for picking the Gladiators is simply because I have a good feeling about Space popping off. Him and OG are overdue for a great day, and why not rise to the occasion in what could be a really closely contested match? Well, just like that, we move on to an uneventful looking Sunday now. Only 3 matches and none of them are guaranteed to be good. To start, the Houston Outlaws play a super angry Philadelphia Fusion. All I'm gonna say is good luck, Outlaws. You have the pleasure of facing a Philly team that is red in the face after getting thoroughly outplayed by a division rival in a tournament. I don't think there's much need for an explanation here when I say this is a mean mismatch. The Fusion are favored at every single position. The only hope for the Outlaws would be Dante, but that's not nearly enough, obviously. I hate to keep it this short, but there's not much to talk about here. With that said, I predict a clean sweep in favor of Philly. The only thing that really intrigues me in the slightest about the Outlaws here is hydration. I'd like to keep monitoring his performance at main tank. So far, I've been liking the job he's done, so I'm curious to see if he can keep that up and maybe show signs of improvement. Next up on the list is a Battle for Canada rematch. I'm fairly happy with the progress Vancouver made in their tournament match. Yeah, they lost, but they're starting to get close to where they need to be to at least give a few teams in the league a decent challenge. This is a great opportunity for them. They play the same opponent who doesn't really seem to be getting any better. They get a chance for revenge and momentum all in one shot. But can they pull it off? That's the magic question. If you go based off of what they played to find success the last time, then the answer is yeah, they definitely could. But no Echo in the rotation kind of worries me. That was the big reason they were in that series to begin with. Shockwave going on flanks as Echo was the pivotal part of their strategy. So now we have to ask ourselves, of course, can he find similar levels of success on different heroes? And is he even going to start for that matter? I really don't know. No Echo kind of feels like it works out better for the Toronto Defiant, and that's why I have them winning the set 3-1. Their squishies aren't going to die as much to random flanks now, and I think they have the far stronger support duo. And to cap it all off, there's a new piece to play with on the side of the Defiant. Numlocked gives them greater versatility at the main tank position, which might be enough to throw Vancouver off their game if Toronto decide to field him. I know Toronto is not in the best of spots, and that Vancouver can really only get better from here, but I like the Defiant. I don't think it's going to be as close this time either. Through some God Gamer plays, Kareev leads the Defiant to victory. Now then, to wrap up the weekend, the LA Valiant play the Washington Justice. The Justice are kind of in this awkward stage still. They recently became full Korean and they just secured full-time deals with Janu and Stitch, so this new version of their team is still growing together. Overall synergy and comfort level is what I'm going to be looking for when watching the Justice this weekend. No matter what though, it looks like they're coming into this game as underdogs, and it's not just because of possible teamwork issues. The Valiant have kind of been on a roll as of late. They even beat Paris, who were still a good team considering they weren't at full strength. KSP and Shax have been on a tear, and there's no way Stitch can handle them on his own. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Stitch is still in South Korea. I know Janu made it to Washington, D.C., but I haven't seen anything on the whereabouts of Stitch. If he has to play those two on high ping, then forget about it. That simply will not be fair, and I doubt Tuba could do much to help. And I mean, that might not be the only problem Washington has. I have serious doubts about Roar still. He's been having a poor season, and Dreamer's been outputting some good showings the last few months. I am greatly concerned for the Justice at main tank and DPS, so I gotta go with the Valiant 3-0. Could I be underestimating the Justice a little here with a 3-0 scoreline? Yeah, perhaps, but I can't get over the glaring disadvantages that present themselves. Valiant should win without too much of an issue. With that said, that's everything I've got for you. That's why I'm winning. Now I turn things over to you. Who do you have winning this weekend? Leave a comment, let's keep the discussion going. And if you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot to me if you could hit that like button and subscribe if you're new to my channel. Once you're done with that, consider following me on Twitter, joining my Discord server, and becoming a channel member to further support me. And as always, thanks so much for watching today's video, I really do appreciate it, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.